Hollywood has always been a place of power, influence, and carefully curated social circles. One night, at an exclusive, star-studded party in Los Angeles, the elite of the entertainment industry gathered under shimmering chandeliers, sipping expensive champagne and exchanging whispers about the biggest names in show business. It was the kind of event where careers were made, deals were sealed, and only the most influential figures were allowed inside. For years, Kevin Spacey had been a regular at these high-profile gatherings. His name once carried weight in every room he entered. But on this particular night, things were different. As he stepped out of his black SUV, dressed in a sharp navy suit, ready to walk through the golden entrance, something unexpected happened. A tall, stone-faced security guard blocked his path, delivering a message that sent a clear signal: he was no longer welcome. The rejection wasn't just about a party, it was a message from Hollywood itself. The same industry that had once celebrated him was now shutting him out. Other guests glanced over, pretending not to notice, but the tension in the air was undeniable. A moment like this could have humiliated anyone, crushed their pride, and sent them walking away in shame. But Kevin Spacey was no ordinary man. Instead of reacting with anger or desperation, he remained calm, assessing the situation with the same sharp instincts that had made him one of the most captivating actors of his time. With one simple move, one calculated decision, he turned the entire night on its head. What happened next sent ripples through Hollywood's most powerful circles, leaving guests stunned, a billionaire host scrambling, and proving that even in exile, Kevin Spacey knew exactly how to remind people who he really was. Kevin Spacey had been in the industry long enough to know that Hollywood had a short memory. One moment, you were the star of the biggest films; the next, your name was whispered in hushed tones, your invitations rescinded, your existence treated like an inconvenience. That's exactly what happened on a crisp Saturday night in Los Angeles when he arrived at one of the most exclusive parties of the year. Hosted by a billionaire media mogul, the guest list was a carefully curated blend of A-list actors, top directors, and the kind of power players who made or broke careers with a single conversation. Spacey had attended this party for years, back when he was at the peak of his career, before the industry turned its back on him. But tonight, something was different. He stepped out of the black SUV, dressed in a sharp navy suit, a small smirk on his face. The valet recognized him instantly but looked unsure, as if debating whether to acknowledge him. The hesitation was a bad sign. When Spacey approached the grand entrance, a tall, suited security guard stepped in his way. "Mr. Spacey," the man said, his tone polite but firm. "I'm sorry, but your name isn't on the list tonight." A silence fell around them. Other guests arriving glanced over, pretending not to watch. Spacey chuckled, glancing toward the massive, gold-trimmed doors behind the guard. "I think you might want to check again," he said smoothly. "I've been coming to this party for over a decade." The guard didn't flinch. "I understand, sir. But I have strict instructions, only confirmed guests are allowed inside." There it was. The unspoken message. This wasn't an oversight. It was deliberate. Someone up the chain had decided he wasn't welcome anymore. For the first time in his career, Kevin Spacey was being treated like a nobody. A lesser man might have argued. Caused a scene. Maybe stormed off, humiliated. But Spacey was never one to play the victim. He glanced at the security guard, gave a slow nod, and, without another word, turned and walked away. But he wasn't leaving. Not yet. Instead of heading home, he made a call. He still had connections in this town, and he knew one thing for certain: power in Hollywood wasn't just about who you were. It was about who owed you a favor. 30 minutes later, inside the party, a ripple went through the crowd. The host, a man used to controlling every aspect of his events, suddenly looked uncomfortable as his phone lit up with messages. At the same time, whispers spread among the guests. One of the most influential directors in the industry had just left the party early. Word had it, he was furious after hearing that Spacey had been turned away at the door. Another producer, one with an upcoming film desperate for financing, quietly excused himself to make a call. Then, the most unexpected thing happened. A limousine pulled up to the entrance. Not just any limo, the kind reserved for the biggest studio executives, the ones who made decisions that shaped Hollywood itself. And when the door opened, out stepped one of the most powerful men in the industry, a legendary producer with more influence than anyone at that party. He wasn't on the guest list. But it didn't matter. He walked straight up to the entrance, scanned the crowd, and in a loud voice said, "Where's Kevin?" The moment that name left his lips, the energy shifted. The billionaire host rushed to the door, his confident smirk replaced with nervousness. He leaned in to whisper something to the security guard, who immediately stepped aside. But it was too late. Kevin Spacey had already left the area, having predicted exactly how this would play out. He didn't need to force his way in. He didn't need to beg for a spot in a room where people pretended he no longer existed. He had made a single call, set the wheels in motion, and let Hollywood's own hunger for power work in his favor. By the time the party ended, the same people who had turned him away were scrambling to explain themselves. Some were making desperate attempts to reach out, suddenly remembering the value of his presence. Spacey never responded. But by the next morning, his name was on the headlines, not for being rejected, but for reminding Hollywood exactly why they had once feared and respected him. Because Kevin Spacey wasn't just another forgotten actor. He was still a force. And he had just proven it.